So today we are going to be looking at unleashing your creative superpowers. That may seem a big stretch, and you think, okay, I'm just happy to get up in the morning and get going. What's this with superpowers? Well, we're going to be looking at that a little closer during the session. But before we get started, if you're new in the community, you are so welcome. My name is Sonia Small here. I'm an artist, an art coach, and an educator. I write courses for artists to help artists show up bolder, get more confidence, and so that you can market and sell your art with far more enthusiasm, passion, and knowledge, so that you can see results, not only making your art, but also selling your art. I am broadcasting from a very hot Cape Town today. Originally lived in the Netherlands, but now have relocated to sunny South Africa. So, as I said, coach, course creator, and a podcaster, the Help I'm Artist podcast. You can find on iTunes and Spotify. And I love everything creative. I love drawing now that I've just been unpacking boxes because we just moved from the Netherlands here. So our stuff have arrived, and unpacking all the artwork and the creative stuff. Most of the boxes are books and art materials and a few other personal things, but that's most of the things coming back to South Africa. And I'm just going through all those pieces that I've made through the years, and it's just wonderful that we've been able to have this profession. And maybe you can relate that it's just a very special, challenging profession to have, is to be a creative artist, making that your living. But it's so worth it. Your art needs to be out there. You have a gift that you have to share with the world, your voice, your opinion, your vision on life, your enthusiasm, your passion, putting that out, whatever art form you're making, getting out there, up there for others to enjoy, and that it's important. But it's not always a given that you are going to be succeeding. Just because you're making art doesn't mean you're going to be able to make a living with it. It takes far more intentional steps, takes planning, it takes getting some insight into business. And that's why I'm just passionate about what I do, because it's all doable. You just need to know how. And that's some things you don't learn at the art school. So that's why I have the podcast, I have the course. It's called the Help I'm Artist. No, that's the podcast. The course is called The Working Artist. And it's for creatives who are struggling to find their way in the art market. So how do you make your art with a lot of enthusiasm, but how do you sell your art? How do you market it? How do you use the online space? How do you use that in-person space that's one-on-one? How can you really leverage your giftings? Really get concrete about your style, about your statement, about how you're showing up with art routine, working with galleries, self-representing yourself, your photography, your words that you're using. So it's a framework of step-by-step course that you can go through at your own pace with other artists also from all over the world, to get that foundation, setting up systems for your art and for your art business. And the registration opens again in 2022. So please head over to the website and join the waitlist, because then I can keep you informed about the opening dates, about how you can best prepare for the course. So that's the Working Artist course. Just want to see who's here. If you're here, please let me know. And you've just joined in, very, very welcome. I see you. Nigel is here. Hi, Nigel, from Yorkshire. Wonderful to have you all the way from Yorkshire, who paints portraits and people and pets in pastels and pastel pencils and charcoal. Wow. Nigel, please feel free to share, if you haven't done already, in the Facebook community. Share your work. We'd love to see and enjoy along with you. And Anya is here. Anya is a regular part of our community and also an alumni of the Working Artist course. And the same with Jan. Hey, Jan from the Netherlands. Good to have you here, guys. Please feel free to use that comment area if you have any comments or feedback, or just have conversation that way. You are free to use it. And all the others, I don't always see all the comments. So if I missed your name, I'm very, very sorry. You are in the Help I'm Artist Facebook community. That's wonderful to have you here. This is really a place where we get together and talk all things art, art business. We have been in a series this month all about cultivating confidence, creativity, and confidence as a creative. They don't always go together. Sometimes that insecurities and our fears and our distrust keeps us from moving forward, and that's why I thought it's going to be important as we move forward, coming to the end of the year. You maybe want to take new, bigger steps for your art business to get into the right mindset. So it has been all about getting into the right heart space and mindset so that you can move forward with more confidence. We started off our month with inspiring artist stories, and that's always one of my favorite sessions because artists in the community have the opportunity to share their art stories. And Anya, who's here, you've shared your story. If you haven't seen that, please go back and look at the replays. They are here in the feed. You might have to scroll back a little bit. That was before the summer. But we had 3 new artists join us at the beginning of October, and they shared their stories about what motivates them, what inspires, why they're making their art, how they're growing their business, their challenges. And if you're an artist in the community and you want to share your story, then please just send me an email, because then I can put you on the list. First session of the month. So in November, we're going to be doing a new session about artist stories. It's always good to hear from other people. So feel free to submit your name. Then we had a look at art business success systems, because we're talking confidence and there's so many variables in art and artistry and in your business. I thought it's good to set up some systems that can help you not only work more effectively, but also just to boost, to give you that little bit of support on the level of your confidence. And we looked at 3 areas. As if you as the artist, your art, and your art audience. That's all those moving parts. With those moving parts, you can set up systems to help you so that you can use technology or a routine or rituals to get you moving forward. And we saw in that session, we talked about it, how confidence comes by little wins, small wins, getting the job done. Because sometimes our minds play tricks on us, and then we imagine all kinds of apprehensions and fears and intimidations that are not validated. And by just getting and moving forward and having those wins, you'll see you're growing your confidence. So creating systems around your art and art business will give you clarity, and it'll help you grow and boost your confidence. So if you missed that session, it's in the feed here. Have a look at that art business success systems. We looked at a system for learning. We went way back in history, looked at the guild system, which was a very set system to learn a craft. Way back in the Renaissance and the Middle Ages, the thing artist never existed. The word wasn't even in the dictionary. Well, I don't think there was a dictionary, but there wasn't even the word artist. It was, you were a craftsman, an artisan, and you learned set rules, set structure, to grow in your creativity. So you had a confidence. If you were under the tuition of a master in an atelier, in a studio setting, you had the backing of the system. But nowadays, where there's so much self-learning and everyone, can be an artist, there's so many wonderful resources out there that you can learn, that you can take classes, you can do a night school. You don't have to go to the academy to be an artist. But that also can leave a big gap in your confidence, because you say, okay, who used to say that I'm an artist? I can feel it. I can, be so passionate about the things that I'm doing. But, who's going to validate that this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing, and that I'm, that I'm good, and that my art is sellable? You need to set up some kind of learning system so that you grow your skill set, so that you find that validation and you get that exposure. But go back. I don't have to do that lesson all over again. It's in the feed about the system of learning and the system of creating, setting up an artist routine, getting healthy habits as an artist, adding rituals to your day also builds momentum. And then growth, because you're not only an artist, you're building a business, and you don't just want to make a business, seeing no growth, because life happens where there's growth. You want to set up systems that you see growth growth in your email list, growth in your income stream, growth in your body of work, growth in your exposure, how you are exhibiting your work. Every year you should be moving forward, and there's systems that can help you do that, besides all the hard work that you need to do yourself. So go back to that lesson. It's there for you to listen to. And this is the timeline. I think as artists, it's good to get the perspective of art history. And maybe you haven't been to an academy where you've learned art history. I can really recommend get a good book about art history, and start getting an understanding of the time that we're in, the timeline of how we are started. And it should be something that's it's very inspiring if you get into it and start understanding the context, because then you'll see where your inspiration comes from and the context of your own work. Last session, we looked at fearless creativity, being bold and confident as an artist. We looked at what artistic confidence is and why it is important. And that we should start by identifying the areas where we are lacking confidence. And we looked at trust versus distrust and fear, which is such a poor master. We want to have work in that trust level, trusting our creativity, trusting that our inspiration will show up, that it's there, that it's part of our life, and then walking in the truth, not having those false beliefs about ourselves that no one wants to buy our art, who wants to read my newsletter, who's interested in what I'm doing, why should I post on social media, no one is listening. These can all be false beliefs, and you need to get into that mindset. And there are ways, we looked in the session how you can do that to get more walking in what is true and not in the false. And then building up your self-assurance in your giftings, in your talents, in your craft that you're learning, so that you can dispel self-doubt. Because self-doubt paralyzes, and you are not going to be moving forward where you need to be. And we set some examples about playing and experimenting to nurture that artistic confidence, so that you're not putting the bar so high that you're thinking, oh, I'm never going to get there. All just too serious. Being an artist is fun as well. Playing, developing, growing. And I mentioned in that session too that before I get creative and start doing a commission or working on an art piece, there's always that session of playing, an hour of just getting all the materials out, playing, no pressure. You really are taking that inner critic, that self-critic. You're going to just shut him or her up by just playing, because there's no pressure. You're just being creative, like you were at kindergarten, just being totally free in your self-expression. And then not comparing. Big reason why we're staying stuck in doubt and in our not trusting our creativity is because we're doubting ourselves and comparing ourselves with others. So that really is paralyzing. And then giving yourself the gift of process. We looked at that, taking your time to admire your own art. You should love what you're doing, the good, the brilliant, the bad, the ugly, all of it. It's all part of your creative journey. And then setting up systems around your creativity so that you learn to trust. So that was all about systems and nurturing your artistic confidence in the last two sessions. But without further ado, the final session for the month of October, we're going to be looking at unleashing your creative superpowers. And you think, okay, when I wrote that down, I think, okay, should I use that word superpower? It seems so abstract and also just seems so unattainable. But as an artist, you are a special person. You've been given this gift of creativity and of artistry that not everyone has. I totally agree that everyone can be creative. We've all got a creative mind of problem solving, whether that's with numbers or whether that's with colors or with with problems in the traffic. But you, as a working artist, as a creative, have this special gift. And it can lead to some frustration, especially when you're a teenager or growing up, because you are feeling things differently. You're more sensitive, more emotional. You pick up things that other people don't even see. You have the need to stare. You have the need to dream. You have the need to travel, to read books. You have different needs than very often people around you, or even siblings. So it can lead to many misunderstandings and if you stay in that place of not recognizing actually the wonderful gift that you have, you're going to stay frustrated. And even if you're a working artist, you already have taken steps, but not totally uncapped the potential that's within you. That can just keep you limiting yourself, and also create a lack of confidence. But really stepping into that space that you are an artist and you have the superpower that no one else has. First, because you're you and there's no one else like you. That is for everyone, whether you're an artist or not. And you, as a creative, are seeing the world differently, and that you can share that just as Batman, Robin, and Superman, to change, to stimulate, to share vision, to show how you are seeing the world, and then people can enjoy that too. I just love this. It's a book I wanted to share with you, and maybe you know it. It's Julieta Artistidis. She's got an atelier in Seattle, and as a young teenager, this is what she writes. During my teenage years, I felt the endless drifting. That endless drifting was a distinct possibility. The ordinary felt miraculous. Things that seemed obvious to others stupefied me. The trees outside my bedroom appeared slightly different every day. I found the view oddly and endlessly engaging. To my surprise, the road next to my house was not black, but violet. I also began to wonder how I, whose only skill was to be easily stumped, could get a job, or if I ever wanted a job. And she goes on to explain her artist journey, how as a teenager she felt things differently than the people around her, and that she wondered, how am I going to make my job out of just feeling like I'm feeling? And she explains so beautifully the artist heart. And I have a similar experience with myself. It's like the light that change it changes from cool to warm. It's like every month I could feel, without even looking at the calendar, what month it was, because that's just how the light fell on trees. And then I would say to my husband, "Oh, can you see the light is different? Can you see? Oh, it's just a few degrees cooler this month. Now we're going towards winter, or we're going towards summer." It's something that I literally feel. And maybe you have within your feelings, your feelers, also things that you are feeling that people don't see, and I explain to people and I look at you like, okay, are you sure? But that's also just part of your gifting, and you have to recognize that you are different than other people. And I'd love just to know, the people that are here in the live session, do you recognize this, that you are feeling things, that your needs differ than people around you, and that there's sometimes, it does cause frustrations. I see Sonia here and Anita here. Hello, guys. Good to have you here. That you see that um, being an artist, that you have a special skill set, special gifting, and it doesn't make you better than anyone else. That's not what I'm saying, but you're different. Your emotional setup is different. You can't do things that other people can do. After a burnout, I found that out. It's like, I can't do what everyone else is. I'm just too sensitive in certain things. I need to really nurture my creative gifting. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for my health. So there's so much self-care that needs to be as an artist. And but this is also part of your gifting. So if there's anyone here, Miranda, I see you've joined the session. Hello. Just briefly write in the comments if you recognize this. Just give me a yes or give me a no if you recognize that you feel that this artistic gift. Just makes you feel things more intensely, experience things in a different way. Anya says, I have that book. Yep, it's a great book. I have been unpacking them today. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I've invested. She's got quite a few books, and she writes so beautifully. And she has, she's a real firm believer in the atelier system, about getting a good foundation in sketching and drawing, and that foundation will give you the freedom to create whatever kind of art you're doing as far as visual arts. I see Miranda is giving me a clap, clap. I see Nigel says yes, and Sonia says yes. I think we can all relate to that. That you have this gifting, and maybe as a teenager and a child, had to find your way, and hopefully you had people around you that encouraged you, and that you being able to release and to express yourself. In this session, I just want to briefly look at, can you nurture that creativity? And what is the best way to create from a place of authenticity? And then how can you get more confident about your artistic style? And all these three things are interwoven with feeling more confident as a creative, because it's something that you need to nurture. We looked at that in the last session, that you can nurture artistic confidence, which comes from experience and which comes from failing, from just doing things, getting small wins, and that you can create from your place of strength. And then how do you put that into your artistic style? How do you know what your artistic style is? So that is what we're going to be briefly looking at in this session. So how do you nurture creativity? I've specifically put nurture there because it's something that's not just, you don't receive in a big bang, and or something that you need to look at outside of yourself. It's your creativity is a gift that's within you, but it can be nurtured. And your painting or your drawing or your sculpting or your whatever your art, your jewelry making, is created long before you're putting your paint in your paintbrush in your paint in your palette, your brush to your paint, your chisel to your wood or to your marble. Your creativity starts, your art piece starts way before that. Your creativity is something that is nurtured. And I love the quote from Robert Henry. He says, "The object isn't making art, is not to make art. It's to be in that wonderful state which makes art inevitable." And that's just so poignant, so powerful, because it's not about making the art. It's about getting into a frame of mind, having a vision of the world, seeing life a certain way that is uniquely you, because you only have your eyes, your emotions, and your experience, and your culture, and your background, and then seeing it in such a way, a wonderful state, as he calls it, and that art is inevitable. It just comes out, no stress. So how you live in the world, that's where the creative magic happens. That's where your superpower is. That's what makes you you. How you are viewing things, how you're observing, whether they're color or whether it's a situation or something that's happened in the world, your vision is unique. Jackson Pollock puts it this way: every good painter paints what he is. It's not something that's outside, it's inside of you, who you are as a person. So, not only as an artist, but as a person, how you are living your life, how you are seeing the world. That's where your artistry happens. That's where you need to start nurturing and honing into that still voice. What is it that you're feeling? What is it that you are feeling, not comparing to everyone else? What makes you you? Because it starts with you as the artist, your vision. That's at the core of everything you're doing. And that will filter through to your art, and that will become visible to your art audience. And that's what your art audience will start resonating with. And if that's something that comes from a place of authenticity, it's going to be a constant. There's going to be a continuity and something that's going to filter through that makes your style your style. And your audience will start recognizing that, just like your signature. You can try and forge another signature, but it's very, very difficult. You have your artistic style, and getting very clear about that, putting that into your art, and that's something that's a very natural process of doing, and then having your art audience recognize that. Another quote of Julieta Artistides from that wonderful book that I mentioned: how you draw is a reflection of how you feel about the world. You're not capturing it, you're interpreting it. So it's not a matter of just copying something, but you're interpreting a situation. And everyone will interpret that in a different way. So it's not about just, when you're studying, that's when you're doing, one-on-one, you're doing studies of a still life, but you want to interpret what you're seeing. That's where the superpower. That's where the magic happens. And it comes down to building that relationship with your creativity. And sometimes you need to get quiet. Sometimes you need to, go for those walks. You need to journal. You need to read. You need to listen to other artists just to get into that vibe, I would always say, because sometimes we're so busy, we ignore that. And we totally go over our boundaries. And as we need to build that relationship. What artists inspire you and why? You can make a list because that already is sort of an indicator of what your artistic style, your preference is. And then you can adopt affirmations, so artist affirmations that you can hang around your house, in your studio, so that you can get and stay in the right mindset. Inspiring artist quotes, things that really resonate with you, and that will help you also, and will support you when you're having a not so inspiring day. Read about other artists. That's good to go to exhibitions, surround yourself with art, read biographies of artists, surround yourself with music and poetry and music, movies and stories and other art forms, because this is part of nurturing your creativity. You need to surround yourself with creativity, and then it's going to come out. If you're in a dry place where there's no creativity, where there's no color or what inspires you, it's going to be very difficult to create. That's why we travel. That's why we go on vacation. That's why we need time in nature. That's why we need to, if you can't travel or go into nature, you surround yourself with it, even if it's little objects in your studio. Make a mood board of your what you'd like, what inspires you, and hang it up in your workspace, so that when you come in and get to work, you are seeing these inspirations. Then, what is the best way to create from a place of authenticity? Now, this is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I just want to ask you, is there such a thing as authenticity? Just write in the comments briefly. Do you agree? Is there something called that is authentic, or doesn't it exist? I'm really curious. So, is there such a thing as authenticity? What do you think? You can give me a yes or a no, or you can also substantiate what you say. And also, if you're watching the replay, hello, 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 then you can also put the comments there, because this is something that we can talk about in the community. Because this is, it's just good to formulate your opinion. Is there something that's authentic, that's really original? Jan says, yes, everyone is authentic. Yes, authentic. Sonia says, yes, authentic is being true to yourself. All true. But what is authentic? Dana. Hi, Dana. Good to have you here. What is authenticity? Isn't it that we have all been tuned to our surroundings, to the things that we've been exposed to the books we've read as children, which other people have recommended us, from an art teacher that has shown us a certain style? Isn't that authenticity being formed and created by the thing, how you're filtering the information that you are seeing? And maybe it's more the interpretation of what authenticity is. I totally agree that we're all unique, we're one of a kind, there's only one of you. But I think authenticity might be a little bit overrated, because it sort of puts this big burden, like you need to be very original. But there's actually nothing new under the sun. It's more how you're filtering information, how you are perceiving the world. And that creates originality. But is it really authentic, how you're thinking, and what has influenced you in your artistry? So that's just something to think about. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer to this, but it's more an interpretation of that whole concept of authenticity. That also filters through about your creative style, because very often we put ourselves in boxes and we say, well, I'm in this box, I'm in that box, and that really can limit also your growth. So this is something I'll be posting also in the community. Think about it. What has influenced you as an artist? Where does your love, maybe for one genre, originate? Is it something because you had a parent or a sibling that had a certain preference? Or is it something that's just so inherently you, your DNA, your personality, that just seems where your preference goes? So have a think about that this week. Where do your preferences come from? Where does your taste come from? The development of your taste, preference for certain art forms or certain colors or certain way of looking at life. How do you get more confident about your artistic style? I get this asked a lot as an art coach. It's like, how do I know what my style is? I like so many things. And I think, especially with creatives, yes, we like a lot of things, and usually you're good at a lot of things because you're creative, you up with solutions, you have a focus, so you can focus on a music instrument, or maybe you're a dancer. I know Anita, if you're watching, Anita was a dancer for many years, and now she's a watercolorist. She shared that in her artist story. That is something you have this ability to focus on technique, focus on styles, and you have a preference for for music, aptitude for a certain expression. So it could be multidisciplinary on different levels. But it's important to, of course, make a choice, because you can't be a master on everything. And then how do you come to that point to understand what your creative style is? And of course, it starts again, that's what we've been talking about this whole session, is about who you are as a human being. Not only as an artist, as a human being. And your artist journey is a journey of self-discovery. Going on that journey, what I said, building that relationship with your creative self. With that 7.8 billion people on the planet, yes, there's only one you. One of a kind. That is a miracle in itself. And if I were to ask you to all draw an apple or paint an apple, not one of these apples will be the same. You will all filter that through your day, through your preference of color, of technique, of composition, of style. You are unique. 4 P's that are broken down into discovering your creative style. It starts with your personality, and that's where the journey of self-discovery comes in. Understanding who you are as a person. Why do you look at the world a certain way? Why do you filter information and have, your preferences for a certain kind of style? Finding out who you are as a person. Go on that journey of self-discovery. Go journaling. Have time of self-reflection. True creativity reflects you. Ask yourself these questions, or have someone else describe you. If you're finding this difficult and you think, yeah, I feel it, but I don't have words for it, it's good to get your words out, maybe on paper, or maybe a mood board, something that you can see who you are as a person. So how would other people describe you as a person? What really inspires you, and what does your perfect day look like? Put that down on paper. You can go and look at the slides in the replay and go through these questions. The second P is your passion. What is it that you're passionate about? What makes you different from the person next to you, from your neighbors, from what gets you excited? What makes you riled up? What is your preferences? What project would you love to work on? What themes keep reoccurring in your work? What present day or past day artist inspires you? So these are things for you to think about, to get clear about where your passions lie. So adding your personality and your passions, these are 2 powerful ingredients of getting to your creative style, getting clear. And then looking back over your past creative expressions. Very often the clues lie in your childhood, because there isn't all that thinking that we've rationalized and we've pushed things away. What did you love to do as a child? What were your preferences there? Maybe you have some work that goes way back. What can you detect? You have to become this detective to try and dissect, and also work through to get to who you are as a person without, that comparison that you thought, well, this was the right way to paint, or this was the right way to create, or maybe your teacher told you this, or your lecturer told you that. What is it that makes you you? And look at past works. And the Working Artist course, I also tackle this as in one of the modules, is really getting clear and doing research and honing into you as a person, and looking at the clues from your past. And then your palette, so that your preference is your palette. We all have different genres. Why is the one doing oil painting? The other one is on watercolors, I saw in the comments. And Nigel, you're making portraits and doing animals. Why is it that your preference is with a certain palette? That also is good to think about. Why didn't you choose to chisel or to sculpt, but you're making things two-dimensional, bringing about the illusion of depth, of color, of shape. So what medium do you love to use, and why? So think about why. It's not just given that you're doing that technique. Why is it that you're doing that? And what new techniques would you love to learn? Is there still something that you're aspiring to learn? And what makes your art different from other artists? So this is the third P in your developing your artistic style, is your palette, your preference of palettes, your personality, who you as a person, your passions, what subjects, what themes, what get you riled and excited, and then your palette, preference of style. It could just be the fact that something has vibrant colors, or that you love the simplicity of clay, how that working through with just the whole tactile part of your art genre. So write that down, because these are all little clues where your preferences go. Yoshi Yamamoto, one of my favorite fashion designers, unfortunately passed away not too long ago. He says, copy, 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 copy. At the end of the copy, you'll find yourself. So if you're stuck and you think, I don't know where to start with my creative style, go and look at other art and see how what they're making, and try and detect how they made it. And I'm not saying that you should do plagiarism and then sign, a master copy in your own name and then sell it. That's not what I'm saying. This is part of educating yourself as an artist, discovering your style, and then dissecting that style. How do you think that artist built up his palette or her palette? Or how was that painting? How did that come to life? Why is that color just so different? Why was the composition made a certain way? These are all good exercises, and something that you learn, for example, also in this book, about the classical way of painting. You always started with a master copy. So you'd either go to a museum, then go to the Louvre or to the British Museum, as in the previous century, and they copied master copies to get an understanding of the palette of how that artist came about. So if you're really stuck and you're thinking, really want to take my artistry a step further, then find things that you can copy. Don't sell them and put your name under it. No, it's just for yourself. You don't have to don't post them on social media. It's just being a good student and understanding certain techniques. It'll really give you the ability to grow in your skills. And then purpose. Also added that to the fourth P, is what is your reason for making art? Why is it that you're making your art? And what does artistic success look like to you? So these are your motivators. It's the big why question. And it's good to have that answered. And that's part of that building a relationship with your creative self. Why is it that you're doing certain things? What inspires you to make your art? What gets you going into your studio to do the work? Because it's sometimes a lot of work. Getting a collection together and building a body of work, and not having the direct satisfaction that you're always selling your works. You need to get those motivators in place. So that's the purpose of you as the artist. And you can actually start right there, because that's also, before you even put your paint down, you need to know why you're doing something. What motivates you to do something? It's the freedom, it's the expression, it's the fact that you're connecting with your feelings, with your emotions. It's the fact that you're making something beautiful for someone else. It's the fact that you want to say something, that you're more activistic, you want to bring certain subjects and themes under the attention of people, your audience. What is motivating you? And what does your success look like to you? It's the completed piece, it's starting a piece, it's the fact that you can be creative, it's the business side of things that is all different for all of us. So your personality, your passion, your palette, and your purpose come together as you start dissecting those different areas where you'll start seeing your artistic style emerge. And that comes through practice, practice, practice. Do a lot of work. You should have many unfinished pieces in your work. I'm not one that you have to just finish everything, because your preference might just, in that research, go to another place. So it could be that you don't have to get very expensive materials, but just make a lot of work, because you're going to see where your natural tendency will go, and your artistic style will emerge from there. But if you're just rationalizing your style, you're thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, it's not going to come out. It needs to come out of your hands, of your heart, of your filters, of your emotions, your senses. Get it out on paper. Start doing the work. And you'll see, once you get all those 100 pieces next to one another, you're going to see, oh, this yellow keeps coming back, or I always have a low horizon, or I'm doing everything close up. I really love working big. Like those small pieces, they frustrate you. You want to work big. You're going to see, you're going to detect where your preferences lie. So do a lot of work. Artists that we recognize and remember have developed a unique style. And so this is crucial also for your artistic success, for moving forward as an experienced, mature artist. Is you want to have a distinct style. You don't want to be all over the place, that no one recognizes you, that every piece is different, everything is totally all over the place. You want to develop a style. And once you get into that style, you can then diversify. But if you're diversifying without really having developed how you want to express yourself, it's going to be very confusing for you to market, to sell, to write promotion materials, getting words to articulate your art, what your art is about. So really think about those areas. What makes your style, and write those questions. There are 9 questions that I have put in these slides that we went through. Go back and find answers to these questions, so that you can move on your artist success path. You all start somewhere, and you're growing. You're growing as a student, setting up a system of learning. You're emerging, getting into a greater sphere of influence. You're exhibiting, coming out and sharing your art in a bigger way. You can be experienced or more established. You can be an expert in a certain area, an influencer, an impactor, or an innovator. These are all different parts of an art journey. For that, you need to nurture your creativity. Create from a place of authenticity, a place of strength, a place where you are you, and being confident about your artistic style, that your personality, your palette, your passion, all come together, and that you can start showing up and sharing more boldly and more confidently, because that's what this month was all about, is creating confidently. And a book that I shared in the last session, Art and Fear, David Bayliss puts it this way: making art now means working in a place of uncertainty. It means living with doubt and contradiction, doing something no one much cares whether you do, and for which there may neither be audience nor reward. Making the work you want to make means setting aside those doubts, so that you may see clearly what you have done, and thereby see where you are to go next. Making the work you want to make means finding nourishment within the work itself. And I think that also just brings it together. As an artist, you will always live in that place of uncertainty. It doesn't have to be a place where you're lacking confidence. Those are 2 different things. Coming to trust your creativity, that it's there, that it's part of you, that it's part of your superpower, because you are you, just simply your makeup. It's inevitable. Art is going to come out of that, and that you embrace the doubt and the contradiction. And even if no one seems to care what you're doing, you keep making the work. You keep doing and showing up, so that people start that your style becomes clear and people start recognizing what you're doing. And then it won't resonate with everyone, but there will be people that will start seeing and listening because you are showing up, you have a clear point of vision, you see the world in a certain way, and there are other people that see it that way too. So hopefully these 4 sessions have been inspiring to you also as far as your artistic confidence. Next week, we're going to be back with a new session of Inspiring Artist Stories. That's the first session of November. And of course, with the Wednesday, we'll be looking at different topics as we move towards the end of the year. So thank you guys for showing up. If there's any questions, then pop them in the comments. I just wanted to take this session to hopefully inspire and just to edify a little bit about the importance of what you're doing, because it's not always easy, being in that creative space. Nothing is a given. It's all just one big adventure and experiment. Katrine, nice to see you here. Nigel says he really loves to watch documentaries about artists and how they've lived and how they got where they're now. And I think I totally agree, Nigel. The inspiration is there, and I think if you find artists that inspire you and see how they've lived their life, can be very inspiring. Dana, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you in next sessions. Thank you guys for showing up to this live. If you have any comments, as I said previously, then please add them to the comment area. Also, if you're watching the replay, let's keep the discussions going. And I'd love to hear what you're thinking, what you're going through. Also, as an artist, your challenges and your wins, you can share them right there in the Facebook community. So thank you for being part of the community. I wish you a wonderful day, and see you again in the next session. Okie dokie. Bye, guys.